All right. Hello, welcome to this Workout Wednesday live stream, week 44. We've got Luke with a challenge this week, which he always has really cool, interesting challenges that are kind of different from what we normally do. So excited to kind of dive into this one. Let's take a look at what we're doing here today. We're doing lifetime value of customers by quarter. It's kind of this interesting kind of, you can kind of almost think of it as a waterfall. We've got if we look at the final thing here, we've got this, it shows, it's kind of always this stair step, right? The lifetime value of a customer, right? It makes sense that it's always going up. Because we want our customers to continue buying things, right? So that's what they're doing, and they're always buying things, and so the lifetime value is always going up, right? So it's kind of this kind of area chart here, and then the size of the bar is getting bigger because it's showing what is actually the increase from the previous quarter. So that's what we're going to do today. It should be pretty fun. So let's go ahead and get into it. Connect to our sales store, Superstore Extract, Superstore Data Store here. And the first thing that we probably need to do, since we're doing this all by quarters, if we look at his requirements here, determine the first order per customer, and then classify customers into quarters based on their first purchase, right? So what are we trying to say there? Well, the first order per customer at the quarter level. So that's just going to be, let's do customer first order quarter. So date trunk, of date trunk at the quarter level. The date is actually going to be, because we want it for each individual customer, so we need to fixed at customer name. Customer name is not really a great one, but we'll leave it there for now. And you'll see why here. I'll tell you why here in a minute once we build out this. But for each customer, what we're going to do is we're going to find the minimum order date. And close that there. Everything is looking good. We also are going to go ahead and change this, make sure that we're going to force a date and not a date time. So we'll do that, right? So what we're doing is let's work from the inside out, right? So the first thing that we're going to do is for each customer, let's find the minimum order date, and then let's truncate that order date to that specific quarter. That's essentially what this is doing. Now, earlier I said customer name is not really great because multiple customers can have the same name, right? And we want each individual customer, not just by customer name. So I don't know if you know this or not, but in the Superstore data set, if you show hidden fields, we have a customer ID. So let's go ahead and unhide that. And let's go back to our calculated field that we just created. Did I not save it? Nope, I didn't. Great. So let's rewrite it using the right one. So this is customer first order quarter. So again, let's make sure that we're going to force it to be a date, not a date time. We're going to truncate this to the quarter level, and the date that we're going to use is the fixed by customer ID minimum order date. And one more there. And one more parentheses there. There we go. All right. Now, by using customer ID, that's a unique ID for each customer. So if customers have different names, or if customer has the same name, we won't be aggregating that. We'll be doing it by every single quarter. Okay, so that's what we're going to do now. Now what we need to do is we need to truncate. We need to create a custom date off of order date. Because we're doing everything by quarter, let's go ahead and create that custom date. We're going to call this order date quarter. I'm going to choose quarter. And you can see here I have either a date value or a date part. Date part is our discrete. So it's just either 1, 2, 3, or 4. Date value is going to be Q1 of 2014, Q2 of 2014, and so on and so forth, right? So it's that discrete versus continuous, and we want the continuous here. So we'll do the date value. Okay. Change this to continuous as well, just so you can see that both of these are continuous. So we have order date of quarter, first date here, and then what we can do is we can now do, for each, essentially what we need to do now is we need to create a, we need to find out how many quarters it was between the first purchase and every consecutive purchase after that. So that's just going to be some date math. We'll call this, quarters between purchases. Well, not that. It's not quarters between purchases. It's quarters since first purchase, right? For each next order. So that's just going to be date diff at the quarter level, and the start date is going to be the min date, right? So that's going to be our customer first order quarter. And then every other date is going to be the order date quarter. Right? So now we have this, that just returns an integer, right? So if we look at this now, right? So we have, if we turn this into a dimension, turn it discrete, we've got 1 through 15 quarters. So we can, if we wanted to, we could drag customer, we could drag count of order ID, right? So there were 921 orders. There were 921 first purchases, unique first purchases. That's what this is. 921 unique first purchases. There were 223 unique purchases that happened after the first purchase, right? And there were, sorry, what is this saying? This is saying that there were 233 unique orders that happened 1 quarter after the initial purchase, right? Yes. Another way that we can look at this, if we wanted to, we could say, here is the first, let's do discrete, discrete continuous, right? So here is the date of each unique first purchase. Then if we bring in this exact date, discrete, and then we bring, and then we bring in, quarters since that, right, you can see, and again, we don't want this, we just want this to be a dimension, right? So here's how this works, right? So we have, you know, this was the first purchase, the next order, obviously that is that 1, right? So it's going to be 0, and then we do 1, 2, and so on and so forth, right? So this is working so far. Everything's looking good. Then what we need to do is we need to figure out how many customers are in each cohort, right? And when I mean cohort, how many are in each one of these unique how many customers are within each first order quarter. So we're going to create a calculated field, and we'll call this this is customers per first quarter, per first purchase quarter. And what we're going to do is we're going to do a fixed calculation on that measure, on that date. It's not a measure, it's a date for each quarter. We're going to count the number of customer IDs distinctly. All right. So now if we have that same view, make that a discrete. And then we do discrete there. And then we'll do quarter since first purchase, also discrete. And then we'll do this customers, right? So what we can see here is we have 191 or 123 customers had their first purchase in January of the first quarter of 2019. That's what that's saying, right? So as you can see, this is what we're creating the cohort off of, and then we're going to count the number of we're going to count the sales within that cohort, right? So for each cohort, yeah, right. So we have a cohort for each 0. You know, so these 123 had in the first quarter of 2019, 123 had their first purchase, and it was $75,000, right? There were 161 who had their very first purchase in April of 2019, which is quarter 2 of 2019, and their sales were 79, right? So now what we can do, kind of switch this view around a little bit. We can put this here and move this out of here. So then we get, there were 804 unique customers who had made their initial purchase, right? And so on and so forth here, right? So now what we can do is we can do we can kind of start to calculate the sales by customer here. And that's just going to be a simple division, right? So this is sales per customer, and that's just going to be sum of sales divided by sum, or no, by, it's going to be this cohort number here, customers and sum that. And then we can change this, since we're here, create, nope, default properties, number format, change this to currency, no decimal places. Okay. So then, what we can do, right? So what are we saying, right? 547, 140, right? So the average, the average number, the average sales for folks who had their initial first purchase, those 804 people, were $547, right? The average order, essentially, the average sales per customer were 547, and so on and so forth. So, in order to get this run, and anytime you see this kind of stair step kind of look to it, your first instinct should be a running total. So let's do that. Let's do running sum. Come on. Running sum of sales per customer. And this is, running sales per customer by quarter. Okay, so let's drag that out there. And we also need this to be a number format of currency, no decimal places. So now we've got, it's just running up, right? It's just running all the way up. So also my numbers are not going to match what Luke has in his because we're using different versions of Superstore. So that's okay. And let's see. So now, so that's going to give us this kind of, so let's just kind of do this here. We've got quarter since first purchase on columns, which is going to be a discrete dimension, right? So we've got 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 16. And we've got the running sales, right? So we're going all the way up. And we'll show our text here, 3708, right? So what we need to do is we're going to kind of create a so if we, let's see, so what we need to do, right? So we've got this part figured out, right? And then if we do, right? So essentially what's happening here is these are bars. And these are, they're gonna be like Gantt chart type of view, right? So in order to think of a Gantt bar, we need to essentially find the difference from the previous, right? So if we go back and we edit our table calculation, nope, that's not going to work. Let's do well, let's do it from here, right? So let's do running total here. And then we can bring this back out, sales per customer. Sales per customer, where did that go? There it is. And we'll do we'll edit our table calculation, table down. So we're using a sum. We're going to add, and then we're going to do a difference, right? And it'll be table down. All right. So if we look at this, I'm going to bring this up here. So here's our total, here's our sales per customer per quarter. Here's that running total, and then here's our difference. But we need some sort of a we need this to be that number, right? Yeah. So we need to carry over this number here. Right? We need to carry that number over. This 547. We need to carry that over here to fill in this blank. So let's drag this calculation. So here's a fun little tip or trick. If you've built things using quick table calculations and you want to use that as an actual field and not just in a view, like you want to actually materialize that calculated field in your data window, in your data pane here, if you hold down your modifier key and click and drag this pill into the data pane, it will create that calculation for you, which is really nice. And we'll call this difference from running sum. So now that's a materialized view or a materialized calculation. And what you can actually do now is actually right click and edit, so you can actually see what that calculation is, which is really nice. All right. So now what we're going to do, all right, so this, if you want to see that, you can, if you wanted to see this, that's what you would do, right? So that's a really cool tip or trick that you can use. But now what we can do is we will take our difference actually, what happens if we put this on size? Yeah, it goes the other way. That's right. You can see that they're not quite, well, they're lining up a little bit, but I want them to, I need this to come all the way down to 0. So what I'm going to do here is like that. Right. So now yep. So how do we fill in this 0 right here, right? Well, what we can do is we can just write another calculation that just says if difference from running, and this is why we added it. This is why I added it as a field or as a materialized calculation, is because I needed to use it in a different calculation. So I'm going to do if null difference that give me the running sum. No, not the running sum. Just the because I want to carry over this number, right? if this is null, give me this value. And we'll call this is going to be the Gantt size. And now when I bring that over here, you'll see now I've got that, and then we can do that. And now I can take this Gantt size and actually drag it up here. See how this goes wonky right there? So if we just flip the sign, now everything lines up, right? So we got that going down to 0. We got this going all the way up, which is really great. The top of this bar equals the bottom of this bar, and then goes up and goes up and goes up, right? So that's how we do that. Now what we can do is we can just do the running sales per customer, not as that. We'll drop this off. We'll make it a bar chart. Make this discrete. And nope, not discrete. We'll make it a dimension. Well, we'll see. Maybe we'll have to change it back. If we do, that's okay. Synchronize. Now, I think we do need to make this continuous. And we will bump the size up. Yeah, bump the size up of, well, let's get our, this we'll use that color. This we'll use this color. Flip that. There we go. Now, if we increase, there it is. So, let's talk about what we did, right? And it's actually going to be this kind of lighter purple color. Did he give, hopefully he gave us that. Yep. Let's do this. More colors. Let's see what color this is. Yep, that's the darker color. That's good. Nope. I wanted that to be the other color. It's all right. So now we're just formatting this a little bit, and then I'll go, and then I'll come, and then we'll swing back around and I'll tell you why this works. Doop-a-doop up, boop-a-doo-doo. Okay, so our bars are that color, our Gants are this color. There we go. And we'll turn off the borders like that. Okay? And we don't need the color, we don't need the mark labels on that. Synchronize? Yeah. There we go. Yeah. So there you go. Okay, so let's talk about what's happening here. So we know how we built that. We know how we built the Gantt chart, right? We built the Gantt chart by just using the sales, the running sales per customer, and then we use the difference to draw the size of the Gantt chart. And then what we did is in order to create the bars, so this is essentially like a waterfall chart, right? Essentially, just kind of a reverse, kind of like a stair step. And then we'll show header, format. Actually, we don't need any of our headers. He got them all taken care of. We'll format this guy with no grid lines, no zero lines, no row and column dividers. And we need to do this +1 So that gets us that. We'll edit our axis. Get rid of that. Format this guy. The numbers will be custom. Well, we can just do custom, no decimal places, and then our prefix will just be 0 or a W. Right? Now, here's another thing. So, you still see I have this 0, this W0 and W18 right here. If we want to get rid of those, let's wrap this entire column measure here to be float and make it a dimension, and now we have to reformat this custom no decimal places with a prefix of 0. All right, so that's kind of a fun little workaround to get your axis to line up, to not have extra space on the end while also having a continuous date or a continuous measure, right? So if you just change it to an integer, you can kind of play with the those types of things. All right, I want to get, nope, that's not going to work. Okay, fine. All right, we'll call this good. Let's see, what else do we need to, what else do we want to do? Tooltips? Okay, we can do that. Is it the same for each? Yep, it is. Great. So that'll be easy. We'll drag this into tooltips and make this the running sales by quarter. Make sure this is right. Let's see, what did we do here? 19. Q9. Yep, we'll do that. We'll do ba, 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 ba. Come on, there we go. Okay. What I'm doing is I'm just getting all of our numbers on there, and then we can format them. Q8. We have the difference, which is going to be this calculation is going to go in there. Let's format all of this really dark black, and we'll do the difference. Okay, let's see what this looks like. That looks good. And then the total customers per first. So that's this calculation. We'll go in here. And we'll add customers. 773. Yep, there we go. All right, so then we just format, we just add in tooltips, that kind of fun stuff. Format our tooltips to what we need. But we've got everything that we need here. Not Gantt size. Or not difference from. We want the Gantt size calculation. Because we want it to say 140 and 0 and whatever, right? Instead of, so it would actually show you what that is. So, no big deal. Easy peasy. So there you go. That's how you do a lifetime value of customers by quarter. So thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. That was fun, and we'll talk to you next week. Go forth and viz.